The year is 1275, a village in the English Midlands. A farmer leaves his cottage before dawn. He doesn't lock the door behind him. There is no lock to turn. His tools rest against the wall outside. A hoe, a sickle, a wooden rake. They will be there when he returns. His neighbour borrows the rake without asking. This is not theft. This is how things work. The neighbour will return it, or replace it, or offer something of equal value when the time comes. Everyone knows this. Everyone has always known this. Later that morning, a widow 3 cottages down falls ill. Without discussion, without formal arrangement, other families begin appearing with food. Someone tends her animals. Someone checks on her children. The village responds as a single organism. No contracts are signed. No insurance claims are filed. No social workers are dispatched. No legal obligations are invoked. The system is trust, and it works. Now consider a different scene. A modern apartment building. Dozens of families, separated by thin walls. They share hallways, elevators, parking spaces. They are physically closer than any medieval village could achieve. Yet they don't know each other's names. Packages are stolen from lobbies. Disputes go to lawyers. Noise complaints go to management companies. Every interaction is mediated by policy, procedure, or potential liability. The doors have multiple locks. Cameras watch the entrances. Insurance covers theft. Contracts govern every relationship. We have more protection than any medieval villager could have imagined. And we trust almost no one. Welcome to the Medieval Advantage. I'm glad you're here. On this channel, we examine the systems our ancestors built. Not to romanticize the past, but to understand what the present may have quietly abandoned. Today we're exploring one of the most unsettling patterns in human social history. Why do we live in the safest era in history and trust almost no one? The modern world is built on systems designed to replace trust. Laws define what we owe each other. Contracts specify every obligation. Institutions mediate between strangers. Insurance protects against betrayal. Courts enforce agreements when relationships fail. Every potential vulnerability has been anticipated. Every possible exploitation has a remedy. Every risk has been calculated, managed, and distributed. This is not accidental. These systems were created because they solved real problems. As societies grew larger, more mobile, more complex, the old mechanisms of trust stopped functioning. We needed new tools to enable cooperation between strangers who would never meet again. And those tools work. Modern society functions. Commerce flows across continents. Strangers collaborate on massive projects. Anonymous individuals transact safely every day. But something has been lost in the exchange. Despite all these safeguards, people feel more suspicious than ever. Anxiety about other people's intentions has become a background condition of modern life. We assume bad faith until proven otherwise. We protect ourselves constantly against threats that rarely materialize. We trust systems more than people, and we feel less safe than ever. This is the paradox we need to understand. To see what we've lost, we first need to understand what trust actually meant in the medieval world. Medieval trust was not primarily a moral quality. It was not about whether people were virtuous or kind. It was structural. It emerged from the conditions of life itself. Consider what those conditions looked like. Communities were small. A village might contain 50 families who had known each other for generations. Your grandparents knew their grandparents. Your children would grow up alongside their children. The relationships were not chosen. They were inherited. Interactions repeated endlessly. You saw the same people every day, in the fields, at the church, at the well. There were no strangers. There was no anonymity. Every action was witnessed by people who would remember it. Reputation followed you for life. In a world without credit scores or background checks, your reputation was your social identity. If you cheated someone, everyone knew. If you failed to honor an obligation, the story would be told for decades. There was no fresh start in another town. There was only the slow accumulation of how you had behaved across years. Consequences were immediate. Betray your neighbour, and you would face them tomorrow, and the day after, and every day until one of you died. There was no escaping into anonymity, no moving away and reinventing yourself, no hiding behind institutional buffers. Perhaps most importantly, survival required cooperation. Medieval life was precarious. Harvests failed, illness struck, winters killed. No individual family could survive entirely alone. You needed your neighbours to help bring in crops before storms arrived. You needed the community to care for your children if you died. Young, you needed the collective knowledge and labour that only cooperation could provide. This mutual dependence created trust, not as a choice, but as a necessity. Betrayal wasn't just wrong, it was self-destructive. Harm your neighbour, and you harmed your own chances of survival. Trust emerged from these conditions automatically, not because medieval people were more moral than us, but because their circumstances made trust rational. Let me be clear about something important. Medieval villages were not utopias. Conflict existed, violence existed, injustice existed. Power was distributed unequally. Women had limited rights. Outsiders were often treated with suspicion or hostility. The same closeness that enabled trust also enabled gossip, feuds, and the enforcement of stifling conformity. We should not romanticize what we examine, but we should still try to understand it. Because the mechanisms that created medieval trust reveal something important about what trust actually requires. Trust required accountability through proximity. When you could see the person you were dealing with, when you knew where they lived, when you would encounter them again tomorrow, accountability was automatic. Trust required the absence of anonymity. When every face was familiar, when every action was observed, when nothing happened in private, behavior was naturally constrained. Trust required long memory. When communities remembered who had done what across generations, reputation became a powerful regulator. The costs of betrayal extended far into the future. Trust required shared fate. When your survival depended on your neighbour's survival, when hardship affected everyone together, when no one could succeed entirely alone, cooperation became essential rather than optional. These mechanisms operated automatically. They didn't require virtue or willpower. They didn't depend on people being especially good. They simply made trustworthy behaviour the rational choice. Modern society dismantled these mechanisms one by one. The process was gradual. It began with industrialization, accelerated with urbanization, and reached completion in the digital age. As people moved from villages to cities, communities dissolved. You no longer knew your neighbours. You no longer shared fate with the people around you. Anonymity became possible, then normal, then expected. Mobility increased. If you damaged your reputation in one place, you could simply leave. Fresh starts became available. The long memory of communities no longer constrained behaviour. Interactions became singular rather than repeated. You dealt with strangers you would never see again. The natural accountability of ongoing relationships disappeared. Survival no longer required local cooperation. You could buy what you needed from anonymous markets. You could hire services from distant providers. Your neighbours became irrelevant to your material existence. Into this void, systems emerged. Laws replaced reputation. Contracts replaced handshakes. Insurance replaced mutual aid. Institutions replaced communities. Professional responsibility replaced personal obligation. These systems solved real problems. They enabled cooperation at scales medieval villages could never achieve. They allowed strangers to transact safely. They created predictability in a world of anonymous interactions. But they also changed something fundamental about how humans relate to each other. When trust is outsourced to systems, something psychological shifts. You no longer need to assess the person in front of you. You assess the contract. You evaluate the institution. You calculate the legal protections available if things go wrong. The human being becomes secondary to the apparatus surrounding them. This creates a peculiar form of anxiety. You're protected against betrayal, but you never feel secure. The systems are opaque. The institutions are distant. When something goes wrong, there's no face to address, only procedures, waiting times, and representatives reading from scripts. Consider how this plays out in ordinary life. You file an insurance claim after damage to your home. The company, designed specifically to help in this moment, treats you with suspicion. Documentation is demanded. Delays multiply. The process feels adversarial rather than supportive. You dispute a charge with a company you've patronized for years. The customer service representative has no authority. The escalation process leads nowhere. Resolution requires persistence that borders on combat. You report a problem to a platform that hosts millions of users. An algorithm responds. A form letter arrives. No human judgment is applied. No relationship exists to invoke. In each case, the system functions. Eventually, outcomes are reached. But the experience leaves you feeling more isolated, not less. No one feels personally responsible anymore. This is the psychological cost of outsourced trust. The systems work well enough to prevent catastrophe, but they don't provide the security that human accountability once offered. Here is what we often fail to recognize. More systems do not create more trust. They manage the absence of it. Trust requires certain conditions that systems cannot replicate. It requires visibility, the ability to see who you're dealing with and how they behave. Systems hide individuals behind procedures and policies. It requires continuity, ongoing relationships where behavior in one moment affects future interactions. Systems enable one-time transactions between parties who will never meet again. It requires consequences, real accountability that follows from actions. Systems distribute responsibility so widely that no individual bears meaningful weight. When these conditions are absent, trust cannot flourish. Systems can substitute for trust in functional terms. They can make cooperation possible without it, but they cannot generate the feeling of security that trust provides. We have solved the problem of cooperation without trust. We have not solved the problem of living without it. Let me be explicit about what this analysis is not. This is not an argument against laws or institutions. Legal systems protect the vulnerable. Institutions enable coordination that saves lives. The rule of law is a genuine civilizational achievement. This is not medieval romanticism. Medieval villages were often oppressive, hierarchical, and unjust. The same mechanisms that created trust also enforced conformity and punished difference. This is not a call to dismantle modern systems. We cannot return to villages of 50 families, even if we wanted to. The world has changed irreversibly. The question is not which world was better. The question is what alignment we lost, and whether any of it can be recovered. The deeper insight is this: trust flourishes where responsibility is unavoidable, when you must face the consequences of your actions, when you cannot escape into anonymity, when your fate is bound to the people around you. Trust emerges naturally. When responsibility can be evaded, when anonymity is available, when fates are separate, trust must be manufactured artificially, through systems that never fully replace what they displaced. Medieval villages had trust not because people were better, but because the conditions made trust inevitable. Modern society lacks trust not because people are worse, but because the conditions make trust optional, and options are rarely chosen when they can be avoided. Let's return to that English village. In 1275, the farmer has come home. His tools are where he left them. His neighbour has returned the rake. The widow is recovering, tended by people who expected nothing in return, except the knowledge that they would be tended in turn. No one has signed anything. No authority has intervened. No system has processed any transaction. Just humans bound by proximity and necessity, behaving as humans do when they cannot escape each other. What does trust require? Can trust exist without community? What would it mean to rebuild local responsibility in a world designed around its absence? What else have we replaced with systems? And at what cost? These questions have no simple answers, but they deserve to be asked. Thank you for watching this video. I genuinely appreciate you taking the time to think through these ideas with me. If you value long-form, serious exploration of what modern life has quietly abandoned, please take a moment to like this video and subscribe to the Medieval Advantage channel. Your support allows this work to continue. In the next video, we'll explore another forgotten system, how medieval communities resolved conflict without courts, and what their methods reveal about justice itself. I'll see you in the next one.